75 years ago, NASCAR held its first modified race on the sands of Daytona Beach. Tonight, we celebrate the past and look to the future as the oldest division in NASCAR begins the 2023 season. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Florida's New Smyrna Speedway, less than 20 miles from where NASCAR first started for the New Smyrna Visitors Bureau 200 in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Hello, everyone. I'm Joe Koss alongside Ben Jodge. We'll be joined tonight by NASCAR Hall of Famer Jerry Cook and Jesse Punch, who will be covering the action along pit lane. Ben, tonight the race slightly delayed with the weather delay. It cut qualifying short, and they set the starting lineup by owner's points, which puts an interesting duo on the front row. It sure does. Doug Coby and John McKennedy.
It certainly does. All of a sudden, the plot will thicken. The twists and turns come literally and put a whole new complexion on this event. There's one of the men that was looking to be starting up in the front row before the rain came. It's Ronnie Williams out of Vernon, Connecticut, as he is talking with a fellow member of the 2 team, the Bertuccio Racing operation. We talked about it earlier before the rains came. What would be the procedure, Joe, as things started to change? It stopped raining for a while, then it came back and started again. And then it was Jimmy Wilson and Brian Vance who made some adjustments. And they did it by owner's points. That worked to the advantage of one individual, but to the loss of the defending race winner from 1 year ago.
And that was Matt Hirschman. And Matt Hirschman will now start at the back of the field. He did not have the opportunity to take his qualifying lap. And to clarify, back of the field is actually mid-pack for him. He'll start 17th for Matt Hirschman. It'll be interesting to watch him work his way through the field. Now,
I think there's a couple other unique stories that we have to touch on in just a moment here as well. Is one of the quickest cars today in practice was Jimmy Blewett with car number 76. He too was one of the competitors that did not get to come out for time. Therefore, his situation completely different. That's going to put the number 76 car further back in the field, back in the 32nd starting position, Joe. That is not where that team was hoping to start. They were quick. Remember, they were dominant in the World Series just 1 year ago. So let's see what they can do. And I think there was a great story that you and I talked about with Doug Coby, how this is not his favorite racetrack, but he is, well, the luck is starting to shine on him with the Tommy Baldwin team and the Mayhew car.
Well, one thing that got them a little lucky is last year we had the unique scenario where we had a different owner champion than we did a driver champion.
Correct.
Doug Coby ran part-time. He shared that car with Michael Christopher Jr. and Jimmy Blewett last season. But they won the owner's championship for the 70 York and car owner Tommy Baldwin. He'll line up alongside the driver champion in the 79 of John McKennedy, who won in a dramatic finale at the Martinsville Speedway in October, and that will make up the front row today.
It certainly will. And, of course, John McKennedy and his crew, they have revamped. You might think that a champion would just sit on their laurels. That is not the case. They've revamped, restructured their team. Their focus is one thing. That one thing is to win more races. They know what it's like to win a title, but they don't want to just win titles. They want to win races as well. Another big story in our practice session, the final practice session of the day. 2 Northampton, Pennsylvania drivers were atop the charts. One was the number 60 machine, of course, of Matt Hirschman, the defending race winner here at New Smyrna Speedway. And the other is a youngster, young and talented Austin Beers, who lives literally just down the street from the talented driver, Matt Hirschman. Hirschman literally owns a piece of the real estate here at the New Smyrna Speedway. And on the Whelen Modified Tour, well, things are about ready to get fired up as well.
He's been very, very good here over the years, has Matt Hirschman, and he is certainly somebody to keep an eye on. Again, he will start from the 17th position here this evening. Ben, you know, we celebrate this year the 75th anniversary of NASCAR. It was almost 75 years to the day. It'll be this Wednesday when NASCAR ran that first race on the beach. And, of course, we couldn't do this broadcast without being able to be joined by a gentleman who has been so much a part of the history of modified racing, NASCAR Hall of Famer, Jerry Cook. Jerry, a 6-time champion in modified racing. It's great to have you on hand for the season opener here as NASCAR celebrates 75 seasons.
It sure is. It's sure great to be here. 75 years is a long time, so.
You know, Jerry, you've seen so many things happen over the years here in modified racing. You were instrumental in being a part of the program itself and so forth with it. Different today racing than the old days when Rome, New York had, well, a 6-time champion in Jerry Cook and then Richie Evans. He was your neighbor, but when it came to going to races, you weren't neighbors at all.
Now, we were what they called at that time the crosstown rivals, but we were both after the same thing. So all the stories everybody's ever heard about what we did, they're probably all true and then some.
And that's one thing that permeates throughout racing, right? The rivalries are still very real here today. And they're starting to build. This year's modified tour class is one of the best that we have seen in recent years. The field tonight, 35 strong, outstanding crop of talent.
Yes, the car count here tonight on top of the numbers is great, but the quality of the cars, there are so many cars here this year that are capable of winning this race. It's like good luck, bad luck, and everything else enters into it.
Sure does. You know, Jerry, let's talk about how many career wins that you had in your illustrious career as a driver. And you told a great story while we were waiting for the skies to clear in the fact that you went from being a driver on one day to working in an office, a position that you never anticipated to have in your lifetime, the very same day.
That's true. When I retired from racing, I went to work for NASCAR the same day, and started out up in New York in the Northeast, and that's where we started what is now the Whelen Modified Tour in 1985, and this is the 38th start of the year for that tour.
Well, 38 starts, and how about the first start for tonight's race in the 2023? Engines have come to life here at New Smyrna Speedway. There is a look at the 60 car for Matt Hirschman. Gentlemen, that is a driver that he's going to start 17th, but he is a driver that knows how to conserve his equipment and has a feel for this racetrack like very few others do in this field.
Well, yes, he certainly does. He's got a feel for what his car has, what his car wants, and knows what to do to it to get the results that he wants. And he's proved that time and time again.
Let's take a look at the starting lineup as the field rolls up onto the banking here in turn 2. Again, the field set by owners' points here tonight. Doug Kobe, the 6-time Whelen Modified Tour champion, starting on the pole position. He'll line up alongside defending series champion John McKennedy.
Row number 2 will be car number 16, runner-up in the point standings, and that, of course, is Ronnie Silk in the Blue Mountain Machine car. Then outside of row number 2 will be Eric Goodale, car number 58, the GAF roofing car.
Row 3, it's a 3-time champion in Justin Bonsignor. Last year's Sunoco Rookie of the Year, Austin Beers, starts 6th.
And 4 rows back, it'll be car number 22 for Kyle Bonsignor in the Chateau Performance Machine. And alongside will be car number 54. A lot of people expecting some big things out of this driver for Tommy Catalano.
Starting 9th in the 82 from Miller Place, New York, it's Craig Lutz. The 10th starter, Jake Johnson, driving Old Blue, number 3 from Rehoboth, Mass. This is a driver that I think could have a pretty good run here tonight on long-run events.
In the 11th starting spot will be car number 34 out of Holtzville, New York. That's J.P. Fortin, the CYA screen print sponsored race car. Then we move quickly to the number 26 machine. For the independent runner, that is car number 26. And the driver, of course, of the Lakeland Landscape Supply car is Gary McDonald.
Starting in the 13th position, it is Patrick Emmerling in the 07 from Orchard Park, New York, a 4-time winner on the tour. 14th, Dave Zapienza.
And we've been told a little bit of a change there. Zapienza and his crew have decided to drop to the rear of the field. We'll see exactly what the situation is there. In the 15th starting position is scheduled to be car number 01 for Melissa Fifield, the Pine Knoll Auto Sales Machine out of Wakefield, New Hampshire. Scheduled to start next to Melissa Fifield will be the number 18 machine. That, of course, is Ken Heggie out of Calverton, New York, in the Bowie One Seafood and Restaurant car.
The defending race winner, Matt Hirschman, will roll off in 17th from Northampton, Pennsylvania. He'll line up alongside Tyler Ripkema out of Oswego, New York in the 32. Starting 18th, Tyler will be full-time on the Tour this season.
Story in last year's event. You remember this competitor tangled and was involved with Ryan Breeze. Today, he'll be starting back in the 19th starting position, and that, of course, is a Supreme Manufacturing car. Car number 24 for Andrew Kraus. Scheduled to start back in the 20th position. J.R. Bertuccio, setting behind the wheel of the Gershaw Recycling number 2.
Starting 21st to the number 92 from Woburn, Massachusetts, Anthony Nocella. He was a big winner at New Hampshire Motor Speedway last July. Kyle Eversole out of Humbleston, Pennsylvania, will start in 22nd.
In the 23rd starting position, it'll be car number 20 out of Brick, New Jersey, the McCarthy Marina car for Eddie MacArthur. Alongside will be the number 71 car. That, of course, is James Pritchard Jr. out of New Jersey, the Freeway Tire Pros and Auto sponsored race car.
Starting 25th from Dawsonville, Georgia, the 29, Spencer Davis, and the 26 starter from Ottawa, New Jersey, the 19 car tonight rejoining the competition fresh off his win indoor racing in Atlantic City, Anthony Sesley.
And then we move back to the 27 starting position. This gentleman is no stranger to the big scene in NASCAR. It'll be Joey Coulter out of Miami Springs, Florida, the SRI Performance number 02. Next to him will be the number 55 car. That, of course, Jeremy Gertzer from Wesley Chapel, Florida. He's one of the local favorites here at the new Smyrna Speedway in the Jerry Hunt Supercenter sponsored car.
Starting 29th, the former New Hampshire state champion from Sunapee, New Hampshire. That's Brian Roby, alongside the driver who was leading qualifying after it got rained out of Ellington, Connecticut. The number 99 driving for Jamie Tomato, it's Ronnie Williams.
In the 31st starting position, it will be the number 46 car for Justin Brown out of Manorville, New York, a rookie in the Riverhead Building Supply machine. And then in the 32nd starting position, watch this guy. They call him Showtime, sitting behind the wheel of car number 76, the Blewett Racing Enterprises Baldwin-sponsored machine, and, of course, the driver of that race car, Mr. Showtime, Jimmy Blewett.
33rd starter tonight, Anthony Bello out of Newtown, Connecticut, makes his first Whelen Modified Tour start. Same can be said for the 34th place starter, the 09 of Chris Hatton Jr. out of Ormond Beach, Florida. And rounding out our 35 car starting lineup out of Bennington, New Hampshire, Matt Kimball, former track champion at the Claremont Motorsports Park. He will start in car number 43.
Well, as we can see, the field is doubled up in rows of 2. They've eliminated some of the fanfare that was scheduled to be a part of the presentation. The Hart family here at the new Smyrna Speedway, the proud host. And even though Mother Nature was not kind to us, Joe, we have a record-breaking crowd again for this, the first stop of 2023. Jerry Cook alongside with us here at Broadcast Central. Jerry, and I know there's something special about modified racing in your heart and in your veins. Even today, when you come to a racetrack, it's not just another race, it's a modified tour race.
That I've been a part of for forever and ever. In fact, when we started the tour part, I was a big part of that. I was the first director of it. But modified racing is still number one in my book any day of the week. So we're off to a good start for another year here. And Mother Nature was kind to us, I think, because it stopped and we dried it up and we're racing tonight. So
Crowd gives the field a good wave here, 2 laps away from getting the green flag as the field gets ready to go racing. Jake Johnson will drop to the tail end of the field. That'll be an interesting development as we watch him try to race his way to the front.
It sure will be. And, of course, we want to remind everybody, those of you that are tuned in and watching from your homes tonight, that there's a whole bunch of different strategies for this event. Tires are going to be the story. There's a new left rear tire compound. And in addition to that, of course, nobody knows what to anticipate. 200 laps. A different racetrack now than it was here this afternoon.
Yeah, well, let's take a look at that. Here's the race analysis for tonight's event. 200 laps, The teams have 6 tires on pit road that they can change, plus they need to take fuel. So this is a 3-stop race. What you do on pit road is going to be very, very critical. Now, it was a very warm and humid day here in Florida all day long. The weather has been in the area all day. It's now 71 degrees. Things are starting to cool off. Track conditions are different. And this racetrack is completely green. It washed clear before we went racing. Then, what are some of the keys to the race tonight? I'll give it 3. You got to have a car that's good on the long run, so longevity is going to be a key one. You've got to have a very balanced race car, so that way those tires will be taken care of with that softer compound you talked about, and you've got to be really good on pit road. Again, those 3 pit stops could be the deciding factor, especially when we get into the second half of the race.
They certainly will be, and of course, pit strategy is going to be the story. Remember, cars that were fast that already attempted to qualify, some of them have found themselves, well, back of the pack in this one, and that's a whole different scenario than where they wanted to be. It looks like we're about ready to get them fired back up as they come off turn number 4. Here's Joe Koss with the call.
The 2023 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour season kicks off the 75th year of NASCAR, and Doug Coby from the pole position around the outside lane jumps out to the early race lead.
While Coby moves quickly to the number 1 spot, the defending champion, John McKennedy, sets in second. Already a side-by-side battle for the 3rd position. Silk is on the inside, but it appears, Joe, that the outside lane is quicker because we have a brand new 3rd-place car. It is Eric Goodale.
On cold tires, Eric Goodale now up to the 3rd spot. Keep an eye on the battle for 4th. That's Austin Beers in the white 64, still looking to give his car owner, Mike Murphy, the first ever Whelen Modified Tour victory. He said that's one of his goals this year is to bring that car to victory lane.
There's no question. Eric Beers, his dad, has always been strong here at New Smyrna when he drove back in the 80s, 90s, and the 2000 era. His son was among the quicker cars in practice, 2nd quickest. Now, look a little further back in the field. The 2 car of J.R. Bertuccio is in a side-by-side battle. It appears the outside lane is where the action is. There's Anthony Nacella. Remember, he had a big victory a year ago at New Hampshire International Speedway.
This track is very abrasive on tires. The surface is old. The outside lane will work early on in a run, but as you get deeper into a run, the inside lane will start to be where drivers work on the bottom. So up front, John McKennedy. He's going to dive off into turn number 3 and challenge for the race lead. Remember, these guys both won the championship last year. McKennedy won the Drivers' Championship. Doug Coby was part of that 7 New York team that won the Owners' Championship.
John McKennedy continues to pull back in the line now, looking for a little daylight. Here comes Eric Goodale. Now, Goodale had a great run last season throughout the year, but they were a little bit short and a little bit disappointed. That's not the story here in the GAF roofing machine. Back up front, Mayhew, number 7, New York. We anticipated exactly what we are looking at right now on the racetrack in turn number 3. They're bumper to bumper, nose to tail, top 6 cars as they come back off 4.
Doug Coby was not in this race last year. He was running part-time, didn't anticipate running a lot of races. He doesn't have a Whelen Modified Tour start here. Not one of his better racetracks, but he's leading right now, still in the early going, getting the challenge. John McKennedy working the bottom lane of the racetrack. But look at Eric Goodale. He's going to stick to the outside lane, following the tire tracks of Doug Coby as they barrel off into turn number 1 and challenge for the 2nd spot.
Now, usually, Eric Goodale with the GAF car comes on very strong late in the event. This is unlike him to make a transition and a move this strong this early. Ronnie Silk is there, and the Phil Moran prepared, number 16. That's the 4th car on your screen. That is the silver car. Behind him directly is the number 64 of Austin Beers. Down the back straightaway, Beers looks at the inside. Doesn't happen. And Catalano, a lot of people were cheering on him today. They're expecting big things out of the driver of car number 54.
Well, the interesting story about the 54 is 2 weeks ago they drove 1,500 miles from their home up in upstate New York to come down here and run 70 laps of testing. That's a brand new car. We're talking about the red 54 in 6th. At the tail end of that lead draft, that paid off. They were fast in practice earlier today. He turned some quick laps. They said that might have been what we needed to fine-tune this race car and get ready for the season opener. So far, early on in the day and early on in the race, that strategy has worked for them.
Let's talk about the car that is running in the 8th position, the number 51 of Justin Bonsignor. A year ago, mechanical problems in the Ryan Stone car took him out of the hunt in this race right at the start of the season. It was a year when mechanical woes became a factor. Back up front, bid for second, John McKennedy. This is a former super modified driver who's won titles in just about every form of open wheel racing that there is. McKennedy, defending series champion, still sitting in the second spot. Now, meanwhile, as we look a little further back, Catalano, Joe, you called it. That red number 54, the Capria car is looking very, very strong. Here's the bid again a little further back, the number 60 car, and that is Matt Hirschman in the 14th position. Patrick Emerling, the 07, the Jan Leedy prepared race car, on the outside.
There isn't a driver in the field that's more prepared going into a race than Matt Hirschman. Hirschman would have thought that he would have probably started in the top 5 tonight, but he ended up starting 17th because of the way the rain came, impacting qualifying. He will now have to work a different game plan to get up to the front. 13th right now, but he plays a long game. Matt Hirschman is the best at that, saving his equipment and being there at the end when it matters most.
He certainly is. Remember, he started 17th in this lineup, so he has picked up 4 positions. Another car to keep your eyes on, the white number 2 car. That, of course, is J.R. Bertuccio out of Center Reach. Now, he's put a lot of laps on this race track over the years. He makes a bold move to the inside as he'll run to the bottom of the racetrack. Kyle Bonsignor, another one of the young guns, looking very, very racy and strong. Anthony Nocella, car number 92, has now moved into the top 15. Remember, the 92 started 21st. That's a pretty big move up in a very short period of time.
Caution flag is out onto the racetrack.
Good.
Issue off turn number 2.
It is car number 18 and the number 25. The 18 car is Ken Heggie out of Calverton, the Booby One Seafood car. And then it is the number 25 car for Brian Roby out of Sunapee, New Hampshire, the Maurice Enterprises car. Very interesting story about Brian Roby. He said, I didn't start racing as a youngster. I started a little bit late in my career. He's a former New Hampshire state champion. The truth is he has been a consistent winner each and every year since he started his racing career. He's going to run the majority of the Whelen Modified Tour events, and he is a guy to watch. Smooth and consistent, and he is one of the students, Joe, of Matt Hirschman, that he follows that train of thought.
Well, that's a pretty good teacher to follow off Jerry Cook. We've seen a pretty quick pace here in the opening 19 laps of this new Smyrna Visitors Bureau 200 here tonight. What do you think here to start off the 2023 season?
Well, we're off and running to a fast start, but most of these guys right now are going to be trying to feel out their car and see when they start making them stops to make the proper changes to make them even faster later on in this race. Because we all know the tires wear, they change tires, and the track changes as the race goes on, and whoever can get it right is the one that's going to be up front later on.
Now, earlier in the day, I had the opportunity to talk with Doug Covey, and what Doug Covey told me is he said, this is a racetrack that it's going to take me about 20 to 25 laps to really figure out if I'm pushing too hard, and I've got a race car that's good on the long run. Kind of interesting for a guy that's a 6-time champion to say, you know what, this racetrack is tough because you got to go the entire time. You can't hold off. But when you do that, you risk wearing out your equipment.
No, everybody that races has got their favorite places that they can figure out, and then there's always the ones that you're trying to figure out all the time. And the one that comes up with the best deal for the end of the race is going to be the one up front.
Jerry, let's talk a little bit about, we're 20 laps into the event. Are you surprised the outside lane seems to be hooking up exceptionally well? It looks like that seems to be the place to go. We see the inside open up, but unable to complete the mission.
Yes, that is a bit different. Usually it's the inside, and you work the track up to the outside as you go on, but he's right. It seems like what we got here is the outside groove is the quick way around. Because not too many are making passes on the inside either. So,
well, down on pit road, you're looking at the Andrew Krause machine. in the Supreme Manufacturing car. Joe and I was talking about it earlier a year ago. Meanwhile, Ronnie Williams tries to back out of his stall. He got blocked in, with that number 99 car. There is the Patrick Emerling car. They have the hood off that car, Joe, and it looks like possibly something might have went awry under the hood, and they have made a quick check and adjustment, and it looks like the lights are coming off on the pace car, so we should be set to go back to green flag racing. Inside or outside, Jerry, on a restart like this, what's the strategy?
I'd say from what we've seen so far, I'd say the outside's where to go. The outside's going to pull through. So.
I would tend to agree with you there, and I think early in a run we'll see that. We'll see what happens later when the tires get worn out, if the bottom becomes a little bit more what they'll go for, but only time will tell.
Well, as the time goes on, the tires that they got on there are going to wear out and lay down the rubber out there, and that changes the track a whole lot as the time goes on.
Getting ready to get back under the green flag here in New Smyrna as they come back off turn number 4. Doug Coby to the outside lane. As predicted, a good solid launch. Rockets back out to the race lead. But here comes Ronnie Silk now. He'll take over the 3rd spot. That moves Eric Goodale back to 4th.
Then we move a little further back at the bottom of the top 5. Here comes the young, talented driver, and that, of course, is Austin Beers. Beers bobbles a bit. They come together almost like two cymbals in an orchestra, as now the inside lane, Goodale slips back. Bonsignore, car 51, moves quickly to the outside, tests the waters, and pulls back in the line. Meanwhile, Catalano is here, red 54, and here comes Craig Lutz. That is not a surprise. He won in World Series competition last year. He's got a real racy race car there right now.
They've made some changes with that 82. Danny Watts owns the race car. Scott Tucci is a crew chief. They brought J.J. Weiss on board to that team as well. A lot of talent behind that 82 of Craig Lutz, and they were looking for better things. The start of last year was rough for them, but they were able to pick up a lot of momentum in the second half of the season.
Keep your eyes on Tyler Rapima. He just passed the 36 machine of Dave Zapienza. Zapienza drops back a spot, and here comes car number 60, Matt Hirschman, in the 11th spot. So Hirschman is working his magic, coming to the front of the field as well. Hirschman now looks to pick off another spot. There is the 3 car, the Boulder Racing Enterprises car of Jake Johnson, also making its presence known.
Trouble, turn 3. Tyler Ripkema goes around in the 32 through the middle of turns 3 and 4. That'll bring out the second caution flag of the night here tonight. He was running pretty well up inside the top 10 when he spun. Tyler Ripkema, the family team, it's been very impressive to see what that team has been able to do, Ben, in their time in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. They've committed to running full-time this season, and it's a team that, they don't have a lot of help from the big names of the sport that we talk about. It's Tyler, his dad. They've got some extra help here throughout the season, and that's what's allowed them to go racing throughout the entire year.
They've also invested in their product. They're going to have 2 cars to be able to run up front and run in the competition here. I think you're going to see that team in the winner's circle throughout this season. Joe, let's talk about what makes the Whelen Modified Tour so special this season. We talk about history and the foundation of the sport, but one of the key ingredients in this year's program is we've got more races at quality racetracks than we have seen in quite some time.
The schedule this year is fantastic. The longest schedule that the Tour has had in about 20 years, 19 races in all. We'll go to 9 different states, have an opportunity to race at very prominent racetracks. This being one of them. We'll update you on the rest of the schedule in a minute, but right now, the race leader is on pit road along with John McKennedy and Ronnie Silk. Now, they've got to pit for fuel at least once during this race. I'd imagine a lot of these drivers are coming down for that fuel stop now to get it out of the way.
I believe you're right with that situation. We are on lap number 30. Check out the action to the inside. There is the number 60, the Matt Hirschman machine, the Collier Trucking Company car, adding fuel just as we anticipated and predicted. The entrance back to the racetrack at the end of pit road now goes green. Doug Coby is the first car out. John McKennedy is second. Ronnie Silk. Then it's Craig Lutz. And then Jake Johnson and Catalano.
We saw the 3 car of Jake Johnson go to the outside there while everybody was stopped. NASCAR will put Jake Johnson back behind the 51 of Justin Bonsignore. That's been passed along to the drivers to get him lined up back properly where he would have exited pit road. So working the caution here, lap 30 of the season opening event here for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. Now, spring rubber is sitting out on the racetrack. This is down in turn number 1, but some of the drivers elected to stay out. And among them, the new race leader, the 58 of Eric Goodale, the 64 of Austin Beers, and the 36 now of Dave Zapienza. That'll be your top 3. Kyle Ebersol also stayed out, along with J.R. Bertuccio. Those 5 drivers stayed out under this caution.
They certainly did. Then Anthony Nocella is being shown in the 6th spot. Spencer Davis is up to 7 with car number 29. Justin Brown is in the 8th position. Joey Coulter, the 4th, is in the 9th spot. And Matt Kimball has now worked his way into the top 10. Remember, kind of an interesting story on the youngster from New Hampshire. He started back in the 35th starting position and is already working his way to the front. Another Cinderella story for a youngster whose dad was a former state champion in NASCAR for the great state of New Hampshire, securing that at Monadnock Speedway.
1 lap to go here at the start-finish line. Eric Goodale leading the way after a round of pit stops. He decided to stay out onto the racetrack. Austin Beers will line up to his inside. You've got Dave Zapienza, Kyle Ebersol, J.R. Bertuccio, your top 5, and Anthony Nocella will be the top 6 when they get back under the green flag. Eric Goodale this year, not running full-time. He's going to miss a couple of races so he can enjoy some family time and watch his boys play ball. Well, he's going for wins, and he's been up front throughout the entire opening 32 laps of the season. He's got that outside lane. Trouble for Patrick Emmerling. He was on pit road. They had the hood off and the
air cleaner off. Yes, and it looked like they were making some type of adjustment or looking at headways. If you're watching the modifieds, take a look at them coming off turn number 4. The straightaways here at New Smyrna Speedway are 600 feet long, 70 feet wide. Here they come, and Goodale on the outside, and Austin Beers looking for that first career victory. He told us how important it would be for not only his dad and his family, but for Murphy, the owner of the race car, Ronnie Uhouse, and of course, Sly Zabin, who is a big factor with that team as well.
Austin Beers battling for the front row, working to the bottom lane of the racetrack, trying to get by Eric Goodale and take over the top position. Austin Beers to the bottom, but Eric Goodale sails it into the outside lane. Cannot keep pace, and Austin Beers will lead here at New Smyrna in the season opener.
While that's been happening, Kyle Ebersol with the number 5 car. The Ebersol excavating red car being shown 3rd on your screen as it heads down the back straightaway. Further back, here's Doug Kobe in a 2-car reaction. Behind him, it is Ronnie Silk. And directly behind the Silk number 16 car is the Lutz car, number 82.
Doug Kobe came down pit road, gave up the race lead to be able to get fuel. He is now 14th, trying to make a move into 13th right now as he works underneath into the turn number 3.
And, you know, we talked about Jimmy Beluit. He has already worked his way back up to the top 12. He is running in the 12th spot. The familiar Beluit red, white, and blue Spirit of America combination. Part of the Baldwin stable, as we said. We've talked about that a bit. He is the defending World Series champion, not in the Modified Tour program, but in last year's series. Good racing there. A little further back, Bertuccio is being hunted down, and the new factor becomes Joey Coulter out of Miami Springs, Florida, the SRI Performance Machine.
That's a 0-2 car is Joey Coulter. Jeremy Gershner got a little bit sideways off turn number 4. You highlighted, Ben, the start of the night. Tonight is the first of 6 nights of modified racing here as part of the World Series of Speedway Racing here at New Smyrna, a tradition that mirrors Speed Weeks that leads up to the Daytona 500. Many of the teams will kick off the activities here tonight with the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and continue running the next 5 consecutive nights here at this racetrack.
You know, interestingly enough, Jerry pointed out a little bit early in the event, the outside lane is really starting to get hooked up. Jeremy Gertzner with the 55. You can see him. He got pinned to the bottom there for a few moments. Meanwhile, you look at where Jimmy Beluit is running. He is now in the 11th spot. Matt Kimball drops back to the 10th position. And right now, there comes Ebersol again. He is making a bid. It doesn't work. He'll run in the tire tracks as they head down to the bottom of turn 1. Austin Beers, the youngster, still the leader of the field from Northampton, Pennsylvania. The Dells Electric, Lemire Electric, Andrew James interior car. Trouble now. Kraus got a little bit off the pace there, Joe. Had to back out of it. Remember what happened a year ago. Things happened pretty fast. And Justin Bonsignor, car 51, he is struggling at this point back in the 19th starting position.
Yeah, he's starting to backpedal here a little bit. Jake Johnson closing in on him, along with Anthony Cecily and Tyler Ripkema trying to make up for lost ground after that caution. Ripkema going in around the outside lane of the racetrack. So these drivers all working pretty hard. Among them, driver that started on the outside of the front row, the 79 of John McKennedy. McKennedy's back in the 18th position, right ahead of the 51 of Justin Bonsignor.
And, you know, we were just talking about Ripkema, and in addition to that, the number 19 car, Anthony Cecily, out of Mattawa, New Jersey, the Atlantic construction car. That car was a car that was prepared and put together by Stephen Kopsick for the competition here. Good side-by-side battle. John McKennedy to the inside. Craig Lutz to the outside, the 82 car, the Danny Watts car. And here comes Jake Johnson, the familiar bowler number 3 car, trying to go to the outside, but Bonsignor makes a bold move. The Phoenix car is holding on still in the battle there, but here comes Jake Johnson.
Johnson had to start at the back of the pack after we reset the field based on owners' points, and he's now trying to make his way back up through, but he hasn't necessarily had the speed that he had earlier in the day in practice. Tyler Ripkema, though, he was strong early on. He's battling, but again, these battles right here are being shown in the 20th and 21st position here at the tail end of the field. Anthony Cecily and Kyle Bonsignor all in the middle of this, trying to sort their race cars out as we continue to move forward. Now 48 laps complete in this year's New Smyrna Visitors Bureau 200.
There is no question. You can see that the Jake Johnson car, this Bowler Racing Enterprises team, synonymous, this young man comes out of the Seacock, Massachusetts, Rehoboth, Massachusetts area. Everybody's been talking about him. He is not only smooth, but he has the ability to be patient way beyond his years. Car is loose, though, Joe. It slips up just a bit. Jerry, you know what it's like to drive a loose racetrack drive a loose race car on a track like this.
Yeah, it's no fun at all when you're running this fast on this type of racetrack. When the car gets loose and you're trying to hold on to keep it from going around, that is no fun at all.
Back up front, Austin Beers leading the way, 51 laps in. The former Sunoco Rookie of the Year winner in 2021, showing his strength here tonight, trying to see if he can capture his very first Whelen Modified Tour victory. He's got a pretty good gap over Eric Goodale and Kyle Ebersol. Meanwhile, looking a bit deeper in the field. Remember, these drivers pitted earlier. The 7 New York of Doug Covey. He hasn't been able to gain that much ground. Last time we checked in with him about 15 laps ago, he was 14th. Right now, he's running in the 12th position.
If you're keeping track of the number 76 of Jimmy Beluit, he has moved into the 8th position. So there is a lot of moving and shuffling going on. Now pulling out a line. Here comes
Justin Brown in the 46 under J.R. Bertuccio.
He's looking pretty good, too, as well. For a while here during our time trial portion before the rains came, he was setting atop the board and looking very strong as well. Now we look a little further back. Andrew Krause has come back into the top 15. Tommy Catalano is in the 15th spot. And where is John McKennedy, the defending champion, 16th on the grid?
Doug Covey trying to put a move on J.R. Bertuccio as he is right in the tire tracks as they navigate there off turn number 2, or off turn 4 rather, back into turn 1. As Covey continues to try to pick up spots. He's 11th right now. He's able to get by Matthew Kimball there a moment ago.
And Matthew Kimball, of course, as we said before, he started scratch on the grid due to the fact that he did not have owner's points. He ran a very limited schedule during the course of the 2022 season.
Doug Covey and that team, very interesting story. When last season came together, Doug and Tommy Baldwin, the owner, could not quite put a deal together to be able to go racing. But when Jimmy Blewett had to step out of that car to be able to deal with the family issue with his daughter, opened up the opportunity for Doug Covey to jump in. and it was an instant magical arrangement with those teams. They worked together well, ended up winning several races in that Owners' Championship, as we've alluded to. That led into a full program this year. Mayhew Tools back on board again. They will also be the sponsor of this year's Dominator Pole Award throughout all the 19 races this season, and that allowed Doug Kobe to get back full time. You take a look at a driver that has struggled in 2022. He's off to a great start. They've made some changes in the crew chief department. That is none other than the 36 car, Dave Zapienza. Zapienza out of Long Island. Anthony Nocella in the number 92. He rides in fifth. And Spencer Davis, a part-time runner. They have not come down pit road yet. We're watching fourth, fifth, and sixth.
Anthony Nocella now running in that fifth position. Spencer Davis can reel him in. Now Davis's car gets loose. That's that red car that you see just loosen up just a bit, gathers it back, tries to move down to the bottom. It doesn't work. Anthony Nocella's highlight of 2022 was the story of winning at New Hampshire. There's no question about that. He's looking very strong. The Nocella paving machine is right there running in the tire tracks of Dave Zapienza. A lot of people thought Dave Zapienza might retire before the start of the season. I think he's proving retirement is out of the question.
Yeah, he certainly brought his A game here tonight. That 36 car looking very good, riding in fourth and doing pretty well considering that some of those other cars have already come down, got that fuel load taken care of. So the strategy, remember we talked about a couple of the keys to the race tonight. That pit strategy is going to be key. The drivers that we see at the front of the field all the way through seventh position have not come down pit road, so they've got at least one, if not two, stops to make before the end of this race. They've got to get fuel at least once, and you know they'll come down for tires at some point.
If you're wondering where Matt Hirschman is, he is currently being shown in the 19th position. And it is John McKennedy, the defending series champion, in the 16th position. Pretty good racing. Lap cars to the bottom of the racetrack. There is car number 58 for Erica Dale, your second place car. And down the back straightaway, we've got some heavy action going on there as well.
Continuing to keep an eye on this battle between fourth, fifth, and sixth. Anthony Nocella in that number 92. You alluded to that major victory he had, the breakthrough victory. He had been running the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour at points full-time, at points part-time like he did last year, and he won it in his family car, the Nocella paving team. This number 92 car, they won at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, one of the crown jewel events on the circuit. He did a great job that day. He was in the right place at the right time, taking three wide, avoiding a wreck as they came across the checkered flag, and he got the job done. He was in the hunt all day and was able to capitalize to get that very first Whelen Modified Tour win.
Speaking of being in the hunt, he's literally running in the tire tracks of a lapped automobile. That's the 26 of Gary McDonald. They come to the outside of the racetrack. Dave Zapienza guards the inside lane, car number 36. Nocella's car slipped up just a bit. Remember, the tire compound that is used, look at the left front rotor on the brake of car number 92. He's turned a lot of front brake into that Nocella paving race cars. You can see them glowing. That is not what he needs, but it will make the car turn.
Turn two is a tricky spot here at this racetrack, trying to get your car to cut without snapping loose sideways, as Spencer Davis is able to get underneath Anthony Nocella, and you could visibly see how much of a manhandling he's got to do to that number 92 just to keep it pointed in the right direction.
You know, it's very interesting as you see the speed shot of the cars coming off from turn number 4. It is not a swooping turn. Turn number 4 literally comes out next to the wall. Take a look at it here now, and then it aims back in. So it is almost a square type turn. That makes this track very unique in its layout and its presentation.
I was going to say, don't look now, Ben, because you go a little bit further back, and Jimmy Blewett is starting to close in on this group. He's up to 7th. It wasn't too long ago that he was back there battling with Doug Kobe. That 76 of Jimmy Blewett, very early on in practice, you can see that that car was going to be smooth on the long runs. And he's not in frame at the moment. The 76 of Jimmy Blewett running 7th, and that car is starting to come to life.
And car number 60, same can be said about that. Matt Hirschman, he is a pacer. There he is, car number 60, the PD Motorsports car, to the inside of J.R. Bertuccio. Can't do it. There's that turn we were talking about, as you see it on the speed shot, as they head down into turn number 1. And, you know, Hirschman is so patient. And John McKennedy knows the performance record of Matt Hirschman. Directly behind him is the number 55 car, and that, of course, is a car that is also coming forward. That's Jeremy Gertzner. Wonder if that's a little surprise to some, but if you know the history of Gertzner, it is not at this racetrack.
This is really a vintage Matt Hirschman type of race. If you can't be up front and dominate the race, you hang back and let the race come to you. We're not even a halfway point. We're going to come across the line this time through when Austin Beers, the race leader, clicks off another lap and get us to lap 75 of 200. There is nothing to worry about if you're a Matt Hirschman fan, because his car will come to life as the race goes on. That's how he plays it. We talked about Jimmy Blewett in the 76 being quick. Sure as anything, here he comes underneath Anthony Nocella. Easily moves into that sixth spot. Jimmy Blewett, a lot of people in the pit area today earlier said that 76 car, Tommy Baldwin prepared 76 car, was going to be very, very fast today in the long run. He won the championship here at this race during Speed Weeks last year, and he had a lot of momentum coming in. Jimmy Blewett looking pretty sporty here as we go through 76 laps.
He certainly was, and of course, Joe, we have talked about it, that car just turned. Wherever he put it on the racetrack in practice, it went and it stayed there, and it seemed to stick. Meanwhile, as we look back at the field, Austin Beers still remains your leader with car number 64. Eric Adale is second. Kyle Ebersol setting in the third spot. Spencer Davis in position number 4, and Dave Zapienza in 5 with Jimmy Blewett in the 6th spot. There is your leader, a youngster from Northampton, Pennsylvania, right down the street from Matt Hirschman. Learned his lessons well. His dad had a tremendous amount of success here. And that youngster is, if you look at timing and scoring and you keep track of his times, he is very smooth and very consistent. Ronnie Uhouse, the former driver for that race team, is now the crew chief. Sly Zabin, who was synonymous with the success of the Flamingo Motorsports team years back, also involved. And it looks like our leader is about to come up on lap traffic, Joe. Let's ask Jerry, lap traffic in a situation like this, what's it like?
It's tough because I've noticed that the competitiveness of this whole field of cars is like outstanding. And just like Tommy Baldwin last year, he won the owner's title with 3 different drivers, all of which won races in his car during the season. But nobody that made a pit stop just drove back to the front instantly either. They're all fighting for every car length they can get right now.
Oh, trouble right in front of the race leader. J.R. Bertuccio goes spinning in turn number 2. Caution flag is out, 82 laps in. And I was just about to say for Austin Beers, he has not led races like this in the Whelen Modified Tour. Navigating lap traffic was going to be new for him, and he was nearly right in the middle of that.
And it got right out from under him, and it's impossible to save it when it gets that far around.
Well, it looks like we're going to see some pit road action as well. J.R. Bertuccio's car, you can see the damage done to the front of the racetrack and the left rear quarter. That's behind the left rear tire on that number 2 machine. He was really doing a pretty good job of maintaining and running up front. As we are now on lap number 83, Austin Beers is still the leader, and we'll see what's going to happen when they open up on pit road as well.
So 83 laps in here at New Smyrna, and Austin Beers, the young driver, leading the way. Eric Goodale back to second. Kyle Ebersol, Spencer Davis, and Jimmy Blewett are your top 5. Now, we talked about the drivers who did not come down pit road yet. We've seen how fast Jimmy Blewett is. He has been on pit road. He's a step ahead of everybody, and he's got the track position on top of it.
And I think this time you're going to see some tires swapping on these cars.
This is one of those races where you've got 2 opportunities to come down pit road. 6 tires and a modified. You generally don't change the left front. But these guys still have options. This may not be the last opportunity to get tires, but I think you're right, Jerry. We're going to see cars come down pit road. They're going to get tires. Some might try to get some fuel here and knock out a couple of pit stops.
It's going to be exciting.
It looks like, Jerry, is you predicted it and made the call. Here comes our leader. It is car number 64 for Austin Beers coming down on pit road. And then directly, the Ebersol number 5, the red car to the right of your screen. Jimmy Blewett is in, Joe, car number 76, also down on pit road.
Eric Goodale is in. Austin Beers down towards the exit of pit lane. Jimmy Blewett is based on points near the entrance of pit lane over in turn 4. Meanwhile, though, here comes Doug Kobe. He'll be one of the last cars to make his way to the attention of his crew. You can see the Tommy Baldwin-led crew will go around and change tires. It'll be a 3-tire stop. That left front tire in modified racing will stay on it. The second pit stop of the night for Doug Kobe and this team. Left side's going on to come around to the right side. You see Tommy Baldwin changing that right front tire. That's a former Daytona 500 champion sitting there changing that tire on his car.
Here's Matt Hirschman. They're doing the same. They're making an adjustment to the right front with car number 60. And Kobe now heads off from pit road. John McKennedy's team, you're looking at it, to the right side with car number 79. They just dropped that car off the jack. And here comes Ronnie Silk. And the 51 of Bonsignore's headed back out.
First car off of pit road was Austin Beers. Very quick
Good
work
job
for that team. But he's coming back down pit road a second time, most likely to get fuel. Because remember, they can't take fuel and tires on the same stop. So those cars are coming back down to get additional service here under this caution period while they've got the opportunity.
And in addition, while that's happening down on pit road, Jake Johnson, car number 3, they are working to change the right side. And here comes Austin Beers with car number 64. He makes it back out. The 2 of Bertuccio behind him. Goodale is next, the 58 car. The 5 of Ebersol. There's Jake Johnson in the Boulder number 3 car. And we are on 86 of 200.
So a very busy round of pit stops for everybody involved. I want to also highlight, we talked about the 76 car of Jimmy Blewett, who had raced his way inside the top 5. He was one of the last cars to come off of pit road, but one thing that might work to his advantage is that there were several cars that came down a second time to be able to get fuel. And so Jimmy Blewett will get a little bit of that track position back. Also on pit road twice during this caution was the 60 car of Matt Hirschman. Hirschman was on pit road. They were not just changing tires. We saw them do a little bit more than that. They were making some suspension adjustments to the right front tire to try to get that race car handling a little bit better for Matt Hirschman.
And Matt's noted he knows exactly what he's looking for, and now he's back in there again.
Continuing to work on the right front as well.
He'll get it tuned up so it's just the way he wants it.
So Matt Hirschman is a guy who's got a notebook, and that notebook goes with him everywhere he goes. And when a race is over, he doesn't go back to the clubhouse or whatever the case may be. He focuses, he sits down at the table in the trailer, he puts his notes together when they're in his mind. And he has a playbook for every situation that comes up. He's a thinking man, a man of few words, but he knows these race cars inside and out, what adjustments he needs and when. And I think that's one of the reasons why last year Matt Hirschman won 28 races. And there's a reason why they call Matt Hirschman Big Money Matt, because many of those races paid $10,000 or more, and he finds ways to get the job done. And by the way, tonight is one of those races.
It certainly is. And remember, he won this event in its inaugural visit, of course, 1 year ago, and he's back down the pit road again. One of the big factors involved, what most people don't realize that are average race fans, is that the combination that Matt Hirschman runs and uses on his race car is not the same as a lot of the other race teams. This is an older style car. He runs a different shock package, which was, well, considered old technology. And sometimes that old technology has proven itself as the best technology. And Matt Hirschman's name in the record books and his name on the deposit slip at the bank proves just that.
He's a guy that knows how to do all of it, Jerry. He's a traditional grassroots racer. He's the mechanic. He's the crew chief. He's the driver. He's the strategist. He knows the whole game.
He is the most meticulous racer I've ever known of, as far as not just driving, but the changes, and he knows what he wants done. He just tells them what to change, and he's right most of the time.
He is, and he's got it all up in that memory bank. We saw Jimmy Blewett back on pit road another time. He had a bad pit stop when they first came down pit road. Might as well come down and take the time to get another adjustment. They know that car is fast, especially on the long run. Just make it a little bit better as we get ready to take on just about the second half of this race.
Car number 99, Ronnie Williams, when the rains came here during time trials, he was the car setting in position number 1. Jamie Tomato is the guy that is performing the magic behind the scenes with that race team as well. And it looks like that Williams will make it back out in the Empire Financial Advisors car. There's a look at the front row coming at us. We'll set the field for you. Doug Coby in position number 1, option inside or outside. Tommy Catalano, the 54. John McKennedy, row 2, the 79 and the 16 of Ronnie Silk. Dave Zapienza, Justin Bonsignor, and it is Andrew Krause, Austin Beers, Eric Goodale, and Kyle Eversole.
Getting ready to get back under the green flag here at New Smyrna Speedway. The season opener for the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour just after the third caution of the evening. Recycled after a round of pit stops, and Doug Coby on the outside of the front row as a race leader. We'll take the green flag with Tommy Catalano down to the inside. Off turn number 4, Bob Slade throws him the green flag, and Doug Coby is back out in front.
He certainly is. Coby wastes no time at all, and right behind him is Ronnie Silk. Silk, who said he wants to win, and he wants to win bad. He takes a peek at the inside in the Phil Moran prepared race car. Colby, remember, this is kind of a unique situation. Moran was once Doug Coby's crew chief for all those championships and a lot of success. Now, different situation, different day, and different deal.
And because of that, everybody thought that Ronnie Silk and Phil Moran would be the combination to beat in 2022. But the problem is they had a big goose egg in that win column. And boy, I think that stings a very competitive Ronnie Silk and a very competitive Phil Moran. They want to solve that problem, and they want to solve it sooner than later by bringing that car to victory lane.
Let's drop back to the 5th position again, and young and talented Austin Beers. He has led, well, a majority of the laps early in this event. He has now found himself back into the top 5. He's got a great race car, and he is right there behind Justin Bonsignor. A little further back, Dave Zapienza is hunting down, running in the tire tracks of the defending series champion, John McKennedy, with car number 79 with that LFR chassis race car.
Some great action deeper in the field. Eric Goodale out of shape. Contact between he and Kyle Ebersol as they came off turn number 2. Goodale in the 58. Jake Johnson will sail it in on the outside lane, driving Old Blue, car number 3, trying to pick up a spot over Kyle Ebersol, who will backpedal a little bit. Goodale, the 58, he had a good race car not too long ago. He's trying to carve his way back up through the field.
And he's doing just that. He is carving his way. He's doing it by process of elimination. Another good side-by-side battle. Anthony Nacella is going with the number 92 car to the outside of Joey Coulter. That's that gray car, number 02, to the bottom of the racetrack. There is literally, if you look to the right of your screen, there is the red, white, and blue number 76 of Beluit as he is coming back up front. Beluit now, with the 76 car, is in the top 16.
Blewett's going to take him 3 wide, getting into turn number 1. Hits the grass on the left side, somehow able to keep that car pointed in the right direction. But there was not enough room to make him 3 wide, and Jimmy Blewett. That's why they call him Showtime. He's getting impatient. He knows he has a great race car, and he is just bottled in the back of this field.
He certainly is. He's like a man possessed. He knows what he needs to get to the front of the field. Beluit now drifts up a lane on the racetrack. Nothing stopping him at this point. Back up front, there's your leader, Doug Coby, the Mayhew Tools machine. Silk is still running in second, and there is the Catalano car, car number 54. I think a lot of people are really hoping that Catalano will be in the winner's circle. He has been a leader in the majority of events last year. He's always run up front. Here comes Beluit. He is all over and challenging the Catalano machine. Oh, trouble now.
Coulter saves it somehow, gathers it back in.
Trouble now.
They're going at it deeper in the field. This is 16th, 17th on that. Jimmy Blewett slides up in front of Joey Coulter. Coulter back down to the bottom. An eventful race, Jerry Cook. How about this modified racing here in 2023?
This is wild. This goes to show what I said early on, that this is the most competitive field of cars that I've seen at a race in a long time. I mean, there's nobody out there running away from it. And every spot that they're trying to get, they've got to fight for.
Jimmy Blewett is heated. He's driving with fire in his eyes as they dive off into turn number 1, challenging Joey Coulter. Mind you, this is for the 14th position on the racetrack, and Jimmy Blewett is going at it like he's racing for the checkered flag. Sends him up the racetrack, dives down to the bottom, and Blewett takes over the 14th spot.
Blewett isn't done yet. Once he gets around Coulter, he continues to stand on the gas and the throttle. All of a sudden, car number 34 is also coming to life. That's Joey Fortin out of Holtzville, New York. He moves down and picks up the spot. And then to the right of your screen, car number 60. That, of course, is Matt Hirschman. Hirschman now has moved back into contention, and he is now into the 16th position, but he isn't done yet. There is your leader, car number 7 for Doug Colby.
Touch on Matt Hirschman for a second. I said earlier that maybe not worry too much that Matt Hirschman's back in 17th, 18th, maybe riding to the pit stop. Well, we've had the pit stop, and he hasn't gotten any better. We're 107 laps into the race. Time might be running thin tonight on Matt Hirschman.
No, it's tough. It isn't. You're just not going to blow back to the front the way this looks. You got to work for every single spot. And where you come out, the pit stops, and how you wind up on the racetrack is going to have a lot to do with it.
Tommy Catalano is a driver in the 3rd spot, red number 54, that has that track position right now, challenging Ronnie Silk, a former series champion. We alluded to it earlier, the changes they've made to their program. Tommy Catalano in that team looking really good. Nearly won their first race at Richmond last year. He's been knocking on the door, but just quite hasn't been able to seal the deal.
Well, Eric Goodale has moved now into the top 9 as he has found his way with the number 58 car. Dave Zapienza continues to try to reel in the number 51 of Justin Bonsignore. Bonsignore continues to try to hold off the opposition. Here comes Zapienza.
Great run for Zapienza, looking very, very good tonight.
Bottom shot move, and Dave Zapienza goes around Justin Bonsignore, and that's no easy task by any stretch of the imagination.
Well, this 51 team, Ben, has struggled since the new tire combination has come into play. They have struggled to get it figured out on certain racetracks, and we had a good conversation with Ryan Stone, the crew chief, earlier today, and he said, you know what, you don't have a lot of time to go test. Tires are hard to come by with supply chain shortages, so you can't just go out and burn a bunch of tires up. You've got to learn what these tires need in race trim, and this is a championship caliber team that has struggled to get the combination right, and he says that is the one reason. His ability to try to get this new combination figured out is why they haven't been as dominant as of late as they were a handful of years ago.
It is so true, and we're watching John McKennedy now. His next target becomes the Phoenix number 51 car that Joe was just talking about and discussing. Look a little further back, and all of a sudden Eric Goodale is starting to move again in a positive direction. Now, here comes bold move for the 3rd position. Tommy Catalano is all over Ronnie Silk's race car, and to the inside is a lapped automobile. That's the 71 of James Pritchard Jr. out of New Jersey. He tries to keep the car to the bottom. That costs the number 54 of Catalano a little time, but there's the leader coming up on traffic to the outside, down the front straightaway. Car number 7, Doug Colby, with Tommy Baldwin Jr.'s race car, looking very, very strong. Where is Austin Beers in all of this? He has been consistent and smooth. Car 64 setting in the 4th spot. Coming up on lap traffic, it is the number 12 car, and that, of course, is Anthony Bello, the rookie, making his modified tour debut here at New Smyrna.
Ronnie Silk right in the tire tracks of Jeremy Gershner, works underneath Eddie McCarthy as they are mired in lap traffic. That allows Tommy Catalano and Austin Beers to close in. What's interesting is Ronnie Silk led 55 laps of this race a year ago. Did not have the finish to be able to make it work. Having a good solid run here in 2nd after. I don't think they were all that happy with that race car after practice today.
I agree. It seemed to be the norm for that particular group. And as we look a little further back in the field, we see that the outside lane continues to be a dominant factor. There's the Silk number 16 car, and it's being hunted down by Catalano. Here he comes again. Ripkema with that number 32 car all over the back bumper of the Propane Plus. Jake Johnson, number 3 car. And there is, well, you can see the 32 car starting to loosen up just a bit. And that's what Jerry was talking about. Jerry, here's a good bid for the runner-up position between Silk and the Catalano team.
Yes, there's no easy pass to either inside, outside, or anywhere out there with the cars that are running the way they are and running so well. It's a tough ride from the back to the front, no matter how much you did early on in this race.
And these corners here at this racetrack, they are different. Turns 1 and 2, you can run high on entry, dart down to the bottom as we watch Tommy Catalano. Now he'll try to enter low and gain ground on Ronnie Silk. He puts a wheel underneath him. But when you get down into turn number 3, it kind of dives down and bottoms out getting into the track right there, which makes it a little bit different as you're trying to pass somebody.
You know, this racetrack was repaved in 2007. You go back into the history books and you'll discover that originally this racetrack was a dirt track back in 1964. But it wasn't very long in its first full season that it became an asphalt track. And that's where it all went from there. The story is at the end of the 2023 season, they are going to repave this racetrack again. Back up front, Beers continues to try to get into this, well, this 3-car battle as Silk continues to try to hold on for second, but Joe Catalano has got him there, but Beers is moving in. If you look at timing and scoring, Beers is the faster of those 3 cars, but here comes Catalano using the advantage of what you were talking about, turn 3, to his advantage as well.
He draws even with Ronnie Silk as they come off turn number 4 to try to keep the nose out in front. Tommy Catalano will finally get by Ronnie Silk and take over the second spot. Austin Beers, let's touch on him again. He led early on in this race. After the pit stop, he lost some track position because he had to come down pit road not once but twice to get fuel and tires. But you know what? This team unloaded, and they, quite frankly, weren't very good. We had a unique situation today where there was 2 practice sessions. Teams don't usually get that in the Whelen Modified Tour. They were able to go back, look at their notes. They made some big adjustments, changed shocks.
And it paid off.
And it made a big difference. And all of a sudden, they found the magic there. They were second quick in the final practice session. And they say, well, that might have been a lap or 2. Maybe they were doing a mock qualifying run. But obviously, this car's got a lot of long-run pace and long-run speed. And Austin Beers having a banner day for him today to start this new year.
128 laps have just clicked off in the record book. Here comes John McKennedy. He is right there. Justin Bonsignor is sending in the 6th spot with car number 51. McKennedy was not happy a year ago with his car at the start of the season at this very racetrack. This year, brand new race cars out of the LFR chassis brand, and this team says, we just don't want to win another title. We want to win a lot of races and the title to be able to pull this off. Will today be the start of all of that?
And they've invested holistically in their race program. 2 brand new race cars. They even bought a new trailer, had that outfitted properly. So this team is all in. Tim Lepine, when he came into the sport last year, he was a first-time owner in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. John McKennedy delivered a championship to him. They are hungry for more as they roll on. McKennedy, he's won championships in about every form of modified and super modified racing that he ever competed in. But that Whelen Modified Tour championship always eluded him. And the fact was, he never ran enough races. He really only ran his 2nd full season of Modified Tour competition last year, and it ended up with him being the champion. He'll sneak underneath Justin Bonsignor. That moves McKennedy back into 6th. And Jerry, McKennedy, former champion of the series, continues to be a factor as we get closer and closer to the end of this race.
While McKennedy was in the 7th position, Jerry, it appeared that another guy that is moving forward is the Eric Goodale number 58 car. That's the GAF-sponsored car. You see that to the right of our screen as he's moving in. Joe and Jerry, it almost appears that Bonsignor is really starting to struggle now.
Well, it's the other guys are getting good, and I've noticed, too, now that we've had a number of passes on the inside, which means the whole track is getting rubber laid down. The rain we had didn't help us any, but now it seems to have picked up where you can get by somebody on the inside or the outside if you got something to do it.
Goodale's car really loosened up just a lap ago. He was able to step back on the gas and pull it back into formation. And then the number 3 car also is trying to gain up, but he is down in the lap, but he is trying to work his magic to get back to the front.
His car looks very fast, and he's going to mention that because he is working his way through the field.
Yes, he is.
Jake Johnson, 1 lap down. He's able to get by the 58 of Eric Goodale, and now will set his sights on Justin Bonsignore, who is a 3-time series champion.
Bonsignore continues to try to guard that lane. Here comes Jake Johnson. Johnson's car almost appears to have gotten its second wind, because all of a sudden he makes a move down underneath Justin Bonsignore. It looks so easy for him as he makes his presence known. And Jerry did call it right when he said, because the Linz number 3 car was looking very good on the inside. We started this event, the outside looked so racy, but now all of a sudden the inside lane has started to come in and conditions are changing. They're coming up on the 25 machine. That, of course, is the Brian Roby prepared race car. And look at Goodale, the GAF car, getting quicker and quicker. Roby, bottom of the screen, coming off turn number 4. Roby's car a little bit off the pace, pulls back into the line. The Maurice Enterprises car.
That leaves us with the battle between Justin Bonsignore and Eric Goodale, 7th and 8th. Goodale, who ran in the top 3 before the pit stop, and Justin Bonsignore was not shown the speed that he is used to. We documented that earlier. Go up further. This is 3rd and 4th. Ronnie Silk and Austin Beers will check back in on this battle. Austin Beers had closed in on that battle with Tommy Catalano and Ronnie Silk, but he's gotten to Silk and hasn't been able to do anything with him as of yet.
You know, you almost wonder if his spotter and his crew chief is telling him, just ride it out. Now is not the time. We are 142 laps in to this 200-lap event here from the new Smyrna Speedway for stop number 1 of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. And it appears, again, that Silk continues to maintain and hold on to that 3rd position. And Dave Zapienza, we have to emphasize the point that the 36 car is looking stronger than we've seen it in quite some time, as Dave Zapienza will tell you that he's had a couple of disappointing seasons, but that is not the case at the start of this year. There's J.R. Bertuccio. Remember, that car was involved in a jingle early in the event, the Gershaw recycling car. And there's Silk going to the outside of the lapped automobile of J.R. Bertuccio. And here comes Austin Beers again, up on the wheel, car 64.
When you go back and you look at 2022 for Dave Zapienza, first of all, he came off a couple of really stellar years for his career in modified racing, consistent finishes, running top 5, running top 10. Dave Zapienza, no wins, no top 5s, no top 10s in 2022. It was the season to forget. And he now kicking things off with a solid top 5 run throughout the duration of this event. Up front, Doug Coby. I think when we talked about Doug Coby as Jeremy Gerstner gets well out of shape in turns 3 and 4, Doug Coby, he's won at a lot of racetracks where it takes conservation to be good. Racetracks like Myrtle Beach, where you've got to be really easy on the tires, Jerry. But he's figured out a way with this 7 New York to take a race car that he wasn't too sure of when we started and make it into a race car that's 52 laps away if he can hang on from getting another win.
Well, he's got a car owner that is very good at setting up a chassis also. And Tommy's been around this stuff since he was a little kid, and he's good at it. Like I said, he won an owner's championship in a car with 3 different drivers, and every one of them won last year.
And in fact, that's what Doug Coby told me earlier today. He said, you know what, the driver at this racetrack can only do so much. That setup, what the crew chief does with the wrenches and the crew is going to make the big difference here. And Jerry, I think you might have really nailed it there. when you talk to Tommy Baldwin and his skill and success as a crew chief and a car owner.
Well, all of a sudden we see the number 5 car that was so strong early in the event, and here's the 29. Here comes Dave Zapienza. That car, literally, he is able to put it almost anywhere he wants to in the racetrack. Jerry, we are less than 50 laps remaining in this event. In the old days, 200 laps, was it too much? 50 was too little.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, 200 laps, and you had to plan the whole day out. Now, these guys been running flat out for what are we, 150 for this whole race so far. There's nobody running away with anything.
One car that we're keeping an eye on as we watch this battle between Austin Beers and Dave Zapienza for the 4th spot. We're keeping an eye on the stopwatch. We talked about how strong Doug Coby has been. Tommy Catalano, running in 2nd, has closed that gap down to 1.1 seconds. He was knocking 1/10 of a second a lap off as Doug Coby worked through lap traffic. But right now, it was a second and a half ago when we were watching Doug Coby. Now, Tommy Catalano on the same straightaway. He's got the lap traffic to work through, but he is closing in. That race car here in the closing stages of this race is coming to life in that 54.
It certainly is, and he moves to the inside of Joey Coulter with the number 02 car. There is your leader, Mayhew, back on board as the sponsor. Remember, Mayhew was probably a part of the success story of Doug Coby for an awful lot of years as the 6-time champion. Meanwhile, keep your eyes. Here's that battle again. Now, is it do or go, or what is it going to be for Austin Beers? Because all of a sudden, Austin Beers forces Silk to relinquish the spot, and Joe, directly behind Ronnie Silk, another good run. That is the 36 machine of Dave Zapienza. Trouble.
This is turn 2.
It's Lutz with the number 82 car, and Jake Johnson in the Propane Plus number 3 car, bringing out another caution. 158 now showing up on the board.
4th caution of the day, and it's the 82 of Craig Lutz and the 3 of Jake Johnson. They bring out the caution here in turns 1 and 2. That's been the hot spot all day long. And now with, 42 laps to go, still another set of tires on pit road for drivers to take. The strategy will come into play. Jerry Cook, you're the driver behind the wheel. What do you want?
Well, I guess Eldon would want a new set of tires at this point. But it's 40 laps to go. Do you save them and hope for another one? But we haven't had that many cautions in this race to warrant a caution coming out to change tires. So I know I'd want new tires right now, and I think we'll find out here in a little bit.
So we'll see how it plays out. Doug Coby, the race leader, has been pretty good here on the longer runs. We're getting down to the end. You know how these races go. You might need a short run car here as we get racy towards the finish of this Whelen Modified Tour New Smyrna Visitors Bureau 200. We haven't talked about this yet, but we've highlighted the 75 years of NASCAR.
Yes, we have.
And today, the winner is going to take home a very special trophy, the 1948 Cup, which is a replica trophy of the same trophy that Red Byron won when he won the very first NASCAR points-paying race on February 15th of 1948, nearly 75 years ago. Has that engraved on the back with the history of that trophy. That is on the line, along with a purse of over $123,000 for the entire field here tonight. And so a little extra incentive. Pit road is open. Some will come, some will not. Doug Coby, Tommy Catalano among the leaders to come down pit road.
They certainly are. Jimmy Ballew is quickly in. He's the first car to stop. Catalano also second car to stop. There's Doug Coby, third car in to make its pit stall. And then it's Ronnie Silk, Goodale, John McKennedy. You're looking at Bonsignore's number 51 car, the Ryan Stone team, changing the left rear. Right front, they're about to change on that as well. Ripken up with the number 32 car.
Tommy Catalano on and off pit road very, very quickly in that 54 car. Coby will exit pit road second. Here comes Matt Hirschman. He'll be the third car off of pit road.
Then John McKennedy, the fourth car, and then Ronnie Silk, the fifth car, with Goodale up next, and Bonsignor. The car that has suffered the most loss there is the number 64 car of Austin Beers.
You've got to be able to put the entire race together. And Austin Beers, as good as they were, led early on, but this very costly pit stop here, they'll be next to last coming off of pit road. More cars coming in, but I think the story of that round of pit stops is going to be twofold. One, a couple of cars stayed out. Kyle Ebersol, Anthony Nocella, Ronnie Williams, they all stayed out here under this caution. They will be, correction on that, those are the cars that are lapped down.
Yes.
Tommy Catalano is the driver that got off pit road first, and I don't think he took all the tires that everybody else did because he beat everybody off pit road by a mile.
He certainly did. It was a classic picture-perfect pit stop for him. We're looking at timing and scoring. Car 54, the leader, of course, Tommy Catalano. Doug Colby still being shown in second. Matt Hirschman has emerged on the podium in the third spot at this point. John McKennedy, defending champion, is fourth. Ronnie Silk is fifth. Eric Goodale is sixth. Justin Bonsignor is seventh. Jimmy Beluit back in eighth. Tyler Rapima is in the ninth spot, and Dave Zapienza is 10th. And look out, Joe, that could be the story of the event, what our viewers are looking at right now.
And that would be the 60 car of Matt Hirschman now all of a sudden in the mix. Jerry, we were talking about him a little while ago. He was 16th, he was 17th. Matt Hirschman wasn't to be heard of. He uses pit strategy, a tire strategy, to be able to get that track position and be third on this restart.
Plus the changes he made to the car there a while ago are now put him in the position with a set of fresh tires on it. He could be a tough factor here in the last end of this.
Going to be pretty exciting. We know that Tommy Catalano doesn't have as many tires as Doug Colby does here in second, but Ben, he is going to have the advantage of deciding where to start, and we've seen the outside have the advantage tonight. They'll come to the choose here, and we'll see with one lap to go. Tommy Catalano, like everybody before him, will choose to restart on the outside lane.
And that's been pretty much the norm here. There's no question. We start right from the start, then the inside lane started to come in. Keep your eyes on that second row as well, because we've got Matt Hirschman and we've got John McKennedy. The third row, just as impressive. Ronnie Silk, the 16 car, and Goodale. And the fourth row, never, or fifth row, never count out the 51 of Bonsignor, and of course Jimmy Beluit Showtime. He showed some muscle earlier, but we are on 163 as we're about ready to go back to green.
Field set, ready to go racing here. Down to the final 36 laps and we get the green flag. Outside lane to race leader Tommy Catalano, looking for his first Whelen Modified Tour victory. But with those old tires, he spins the tires on the start, gets washed up the racetrack, and Tommy Catalano gets shuffled out of line. Here comes Matt Hirschman down the back straightaway looking for the race lead.
Nobody is going to be surprised at the situation that is about to unfold at the point. Matt Hirschman, last year's winner, takes over the lead. Here comes Doug Colby. They cling and they clang. Colby back in command. Here comes Silk, car 16. Moves to the inside. Silk now makes a bid for it. Colby slipped up the racetrack. Here comes Justin Bonsignor as they come back off turn 4.
It is on now. Ronnie Silk surges to the race lead for the first time. He darts out in front. Justin Bonsignor, now he's in the mix. Remember last year, he had mechanical problems. He was out before the race even got started, it seemed. Ran a couple of laps. Now he's up to second, getting by Doug Colby.
There's no question. It is a dogfight battle among the top 10 positions. Here comes Bonsignor. Down underneath Ronnie Silk. He washes up just a bit, and Bonsignor, car 51, has it by inches, and here comes Colby. Colby makes the bold move to the bottom. Here comes Eric Goodale, and no surprises here. Also coming forward is Jimmy Beluit. Oh, trouble.
Doug Colby into the back of Justin Bonsignor in turns 1 and 2. Jimmy Beluit, a good run, is in it. Andrew Krause, you got the 36 of Dave Zapienza, left front damage for him. A heavy incident. Eric Goodale, and it all started with contact between Doug Colby and Justin Bonsignor getting down into turns 1 and 2. It happened up front, and it collected many of the contenders here tonight.
Oh, what a heartbreaker. There is the Beluit machine. He was a victim of circumstances. He had the car actually saved. Left front tire is flat on the number 76 car. that even though it's part of the Baldwin stable, of course, remember that race car is the traditional red, white, and blue. It makes New Jersey a major part of it. The Goodale car, the Riverhead Building Supply machine, to the inside. Heartbreaker, that car was in contention as well as the GAF team. It looks like they're perhaps that Eric is trying to, signal to
looking for a push, I think.
I think you're right.
There we go.
And now we get it. And this is really going to shuffle this situation and the deck. There's no question about it. Down on pit road, the left front on the Blewett, the FX Capara car.
Let's get a look at what happened here while Jimmy Blewett gets service on his badly damaged number 76. Keep an eye on the 7 New York on the outside lane. And you know what? It's almost as if the Justin Bonsignore car stopped. He got down to the turn. You saw some smoke come out from underneath it right there. And then Kobe drilled into him, lost a lot of momentum because Kobe was 2 or 3 car lengths behind Justin Bonsignore getting into the turn.
Here's a different angle at the whole situation, and it's exactly as Joe called it. Jimmy Blewett's number 76 car, he was a victim of circumstances. He was pushed into that situation, had the car saved, as Silk pulls away Kobe, showing why he is the champion that he is. Bonsignore is able to save it, keep it out of harm's way, and, of course, Goodale's car to the bottom. It did not fire back up.
Watch it right here. See that smoke out the left side? Hard to tell if that was out of the header pipe or did he lock the left front wheel up a little bit getting into the turn?
John McKennedy did a pretty good job of keeping it away from the Doug Colby car, the Kraus car.
Watch the smoke, Ben, out of the left side, right as you look at it in the 51. Right there.
Right there. And as that happens, a chain reaction, McKennedy trying to get through that traffic jam situation. Goodale comes across the racetrack, and the Bonsignore machine. Now the Goodale car's down on pit road.
Probably got some grass all over the front of that
Yeah,
car.
we
Obviously
saw
some challenges there.
We saw him in the Riverhead Building Supply machine signaling he needed a push, that the car did not fire back up immediately. And now they got the air cleaner, and it looks like they're going to be taking the hood off as well.
So the 58 of Eric Goodale had a great run here tonight on pit road. A couple other cars will come down pit road as they open pit this time through, and including the 64 of Austin Beers, who had lost a tremendous amount of track position.
Down
They'll take the opportunity to grab that now.
Car number 76, Jimmy Blewett, pulls behind the wall. Blewett's day had ended. What a great run he had going. There is the Blewett number 76 car being pulled to the back of the hauler. Jimmy Blewett's day is suddenly over. Heartbreaker for him.
So let's take a look at how this is going to shape up. This is how they line up. Ronnie Silk, the race leader. Matt Hirschman is second. Now, Doug Kobe was in that incident, but he was able to keep that car rolling. He's being posted in the 3rd position right now. Anthony Sesley in 4th. Tyler Ripkema 5th. Justin Bonsignore, John McKennedy, Tommy Catalano, Dave Zappienza, and Austin Beers. But Austin Beers was on pit road, so we'll let it cycle back around to see where they all stack up. John McKennedy now also coming down pit road. He got some damage. He was in the middle of Doug Kobe in the outside wall when they went through that incident in turns 1 and 2.
Sure was. You know, we haven't talked at all about Anthony Sesley. This is a brand new race team in the car that Stephen Koptic built for this team. That's the number 19 car, and he has been very consistent and very strong as well.
Yeah, that car came to Stephen's shop on Monday of this week. They reconfigured that race car, got it ready to go racing here this weekend. And Anthony said, you know, anything that Stephen gives me in the race car, he says it just works. It's very different than what I've used to run in the past in that number 19 car. But Anthony Sesley, who's already had a great winter, he won an indoor race at the Atlantic City indoor race up in New Jersey here just a couple of weeks ago, carrying that momentum in here to New Smyrna to run 4th right now. It's always good to see different names rise to the top of the crop, and maybe someday they'll be in the Hall of Fame, Jerry.
You never know. I mean, everybody's got to start someplace, and the new guys come along. replace the old guys just like they did with me and a bunch of others. So it's always changing.
You know, I think one key thing, Jerry, too, that we touched upon earlier in today is that you are not just a member of one Hall of Fame. You are a lot more than all of that.
Yes, I've been lucky. I've been voted into quite a few, all over this part of the country, really.
Well, don't let it. You have to tell Ben. Ben is also in a Hall of Fame. He won't tell you that, but Ben is in a Hall of Fame as well. The Northeast New England Auto Racers Hall of Fame for his long career in the broadcast booth, watching you go out there and turn wheels on all these racetracks.
Yes, Ben has been there when Riverside Park comes to mind, #1. You know, we all went there and had a lot of fun too. Really.
We were also talking about the fact that Jerry, in the prominent days of modified racing in the old days, competed with an asphalt modified on dirt, and that is something that was really very seldom talked about.
Yeah, that's true, and we just did that out of the spur of the moment thing. Went to Syracuse because it was only 40 miles from home. What do we got to lose, you know? So we go there and away we go.
That might
time trial and come back in, and we're at #1 at that point. So
amazingly enough, a gentleman who is a photographer that loves the sport by the name of Bob Thompson had a great photo of Jerry's asphalt car with this gremlin roof on it that was way above his head. Looks like we're going back at it, Joe. Let's get ready.
Lined up, 24 laps to go here in the season opener for the Whelen Modified Tour. Ronnie Silk on the outside line, fires first as a race leader with Matt Hirschman, who will tuck in line in turn 1.
Well, the point of the arrow becomes Silk. He drifts up the racetrack just a bit. Here comes Hirschman. Bold move, bottom of turn number 3. Look back to the 5th spot. Here comes Anthony Cecily. Cecily, the black and orange number 19 car. Sparks will fly, but it is Colby and Bonsignor threading the needle back to the front of this field.
Those two are back at it again in the same position they were when they crashed in turn number 1. Everybody able to continue on. How about Matt Hirschman giving the front bumper to Ronnie Silk off turn 4?
Here he comes again. Hirschman just stays in the tire tracks, tucking out of line. Justin Bonsignor moves to the inside. Anthony Cecily, great run, setting in the 4th spot. Here comes Colby. The Mayhew, number 7 New York, moves in to try to take over the 4th position. It is car number 7, Doug Colby, up to position number 4.
Ronnie Silk out in front. You look at Matt Hirschman. He is under attack. Justin Bonsignor is there. Down into turn number 3. Bonsignor runs a little bit higher on entry. Hirschman, though, slips up off turn number 4. Bonsignor cannot quite draw alongside with 20 to go.
He'll try everything as Matt Hirschman continues to guard the lane, and he does it well. Colby has broken away from Anthony Cecily. He now is among the top 5 cars. They work their magic coming off the turn. Leader is still Silk. As the laps continue to tick away, it is Ronnie Silk in command.
Ronnie Silk looking to get a victory here for his new team, Hyde Unone Racing. They were the big story coming into last season. Unable to go to victory lane tonight, though, their best opportunity to do so inside of now 18 laps to go. But Justin Bonsignor might have something to say about that as he goes to the inside of turn 1, battling once again with Matt Hirschman.
He makes a classic move, and when you can pass Matt Hirschman at New Smyrna with a bold move to the inside, that's saying something. Hirschman, will he change his strategy? He rolls back, runs in the tire tracks as they come off turn number 4. 183 now complete. There is Anthony Cecily. Now gets his way to the inside of Doug Colby. Dave Zapienza carrying the torch for the senior drivers of the Whelen Modified Tour and doing it with style. Car 36.
Zapienza was the car that had bounced off the wall just a few laps ago. 6th right now. Still a good day for him after that challenging season a year ago. How about Jake Johnson? Started in the back of the field.
Yes.
He got a lap down, was a very quick race car, and he is now 7th. Did a nice job at recovering This driver has a lot of super late model, full-bodied competition experience, but he's been fun to watch. Up front, Ronnie Silk looks in the rearview mirror. The Holtzville, New York driver in the form of Justin Bonsignor is there, and he is bidding for an opportunity to win. To the bottom of turn one, here's Justin Bonsignor.
No question about it. Bonsignor saw an opening, tried to put the car down to the inside. Silk was up on the wheel. He continues to guard the position. Silk's car's drifting up just a bit, leaving that window of opportunity open. They come up on the lap traffic as they work their magic down in turn two.
It's been since 2021 since Ronnie Silk went to victory lane. Justin Bonsignor, he won several last season, but he came up shy in the championship. Here he comes off turn number 4, right to the back bumper of Ronnie Silk as they come across the line.
Can't do it this time. He's still in striking distance. They come off the turn, down the back straightaway. It still remains Silk. Bonsignor is glued to his back bumper. Deep into turn number 3, it is Silk who guards the position to the inside. Meanwhile, Hirschman still setting back in the 3rd position. It's not over with yet as the leader still remains Silk, but he's got his hands full as Bonsignor is right there with him.
Bonsignor 4th on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour all win list in the modern era, tied with Tony Hirschman. Tony Hirschman's son, Matt Hirschman, runs in the 3rd spot directly behind as Bonsignor wants to make it 35 career victories tonight. Ronnie Silk, he wants the 1st with Phil Moran, Tyler Height, and Joe Unone as their car owners.
Certainly does. There is less than 10 circuits remaining. 5 miles left in the competition here at the fastest Hart family Speedway-owned operation, better known as the New Smyrna Speedway. Here it is again. Bonsignor is right there. He'll try it to the bottom. Can't do it.
Nearly come together at the entrance of turn 3. A little bit of bumper tag that time. Off the corner. Silk out of shape. Bonsignor gives him room to gather it back in. Less than 8 to go.
There's no question. Here comes Bonsignor again. Silk continues to manhandle his race car. Bonsignor looking for that window of opportunity. Here comes Hirschman. He's closing up the gap. Clock is ticking back to the line. Leader still remains Silk, but here comes Bonsignor.
Silk content to run the outside lane. Lap traffic up ahead. Can Bonsignor hold the line off turn number 2? Silk out of shape, but he defends the race lead in turn 3.
There's no question about it. Silk continues to do his best to hold off the opposition. They come up on a lap car. It dies to the inside. Silk is still the leader. Bonsignor's strongest turn is 1 and 2. But watch what happens down in 3 and 4.
Momentum to the outside allows Silk to hold the race lead. Closing in, though, Matt Hirschman. These two battle. Hirschman is becoming a factor now. A 3-car battle with 5 to go.
The high five will be given. Meanwhile, here comes Bonsignor. And Silk goes up the hill. Bonsignor takes over the lead. It's not over with yet. Here comes Matt Hirschman. Justin Bonsignor puts the Phoenix Ryan Stone car to the front. Here comes Silk again as they run in hot pursuit. Ronnie Silk is back in command.
It's not over yet. Here comes Justin Bonsignor. Tries to cross over as they go down the back straightaway, but Silk clears him getting down into turn 3.
Silk is back as the leader of the pack. Here comes Matt Hirschman. 3 cars run nose to tail. 3 laps to go as they head to turn 1.
Silk, he's got a lot of breathing room compared to the last couple of laps. It's a half a car length. He drives away from Justin Bonsignor off turn number 2. He's able to gap him. Now 3 car lengths in 3.
There's no question. Silk is starting to pull away. This time when they come back to the line, 2 laps to go. Ronnie Silk was hungry. Joe talked about it early in the broadcast. And here comes Hirschman trying to pick up yet another position or 2 as we're coming down to the wire.
Ronnie Silk with the biggest lead he's had over the past 5 or 6 laps. They'll come off turn number 4. White flag is in the air, this time for Ronnie Silk.
But there's no surrendering at the point. Ronnie Silk in the Phil Moran prepared race car out in front. He came here because he wanted wins to be added to the list, and he's going to do just that.
Into turn number 3, Ronnie Silk for the first time driving for Height Unone Racing. He will win in the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour and kick off NASCAR's 75th season in victory lane.
Justin Bonsignor will finish in the runner-up spot. Matt Hirschman will finish in position number 3. Great run for Anthony Sicily to finish in the 4th spot. Doug Colby to round out the top 5.
Ronnie Silk getting the job done. Fireworks over the New Smyrna Speedway here tonight. Justin Bonsignor offering congratulations, but what a race. Had all the stories that we would expect for modified competition. And how about Ronnie Silk? It's been a year since he had gone to victory lane. He led 55 laps here a year ago. Today, he'll lead the most important lap, lap number 200. There was fireworks on the racetrack, fireworks in the air, and what a great way to start NASCAR's 75th season.
It certainly is.
That race was the most awesome race I've seen in a long time. You didn't know who was going to win until the checkered flag fell.
Bonsignor and Ronnie Silk, two champions of the series. They went at it toe-to-toe. Bonsignor shoved Ronnie Silk up the racetrack in turns 1 and 2. And Ronnie Silk was not going to have any of that. He went back on the attack and drove away in dominating fashion over the past 3 or 4 laps and was able to gap Justin Bonsignor, leaving no doubt that he was not going to be denied tonight.
And that's good. He's been working for a long time trying to get a win, and I'm glad to see he did. Not that anybody out there wasn't deserving to win that race the way it went tonight.
Well, speaking of deserving, there's no question, Jerry. We are honored that we were able to have you as part of the program as well.
Let's send it down to victory lane and hear from our winner. Here's Jesse Punch.
What a way to start this Whelen modified season, gentlemen. Our finish.
Wow.
Is the climb to celebrate his first win with plenty of smiles down here in victory lane. You cannot underestimate what starting the season with a win will do for momentum. Here he is, your winner tonight, Ron Silk. Congratulations, incredible way to start the season, but a hard-fought battle there at the end. What was going through your mind during those final laps?
Well, I knew it was a good chance to get one, so I didn't want to let it slip away. I had a really good car all of last year and couldn't find victory lane, so for me and all my guys to get that out of the way the first year. And, I mean, that was like that. I think we were both driving a little bit over our head for everything we had, but, you know, it's aggressive to be for us. I love New Smyrna Speedway. I want to thank all the fans for coming out, Whelen Engineering, everyone on my team, my owners, Tyler and Joe, my crew chief, Phil, and just everyone that came down here to be a part of this.
Congratulations on the win, Ron.
Thank you.
That's Ron Silk, your modified winner here tonight at New Smyrna.
An outstanding drive for Ronnie Silk. You heard the emotion, the excitement, and I think that's about as emotional as Ronnie Silk gets on any day.
I agree with that.
But, you know, that team has been working hard, and I know it's been really grinding on them. A lot of those team members were the team that worked with Doug Kobe when he won that championship, along with a mix of the Height Yanone racing team. But for Tyler Height, Joe Yanone, the car owners that stepped up to go Modified Tour Racing, not getting that win last year, it stung. They get it to start the season, and Phil Moran proving that he can still and continues to be one of the best crew chiefs in the series.
Joe, let's quickly just touch upon this, the different side stories in this event. When you go back to Doug Kobe, who had Phil Moran as his crew chief, now all of a sudden Phil Moran is the crew chief for Ronnie Silk. Justin Bonsignor, Ryan Stone, a year ago at this race, he was so disappointed in the fact that he did not have a good run because of mechanical woes. And I got to tell you, you look down the list here, we've got some new names in this list here that rose to the top of this one. Anthony Cecily, Jake Johnson, Dave Zapienza, and Austin Beers, just to name a few.
Great run tonight by Austin Beers. Problems on pit road, that's something that team's going to have to work on as they move forward, because it was just a challenging pit stop for them that really cost them an opportunity to be able to contend for the win. He led a lot of laps in the first third or so of this race, clearly had a fast race car, but when you got a race that's this long and this competitive, you got to be able to put the whole race together, and when that team does, they're going to start winning a lot of races.
They certainly are. And remember, we had so many different, well, twists and turns in this event. We had Matt Hirschman, this time was forced to start at the back of the pack. We had Jimmy Beluit, who was a factor all night long in this program. program. He was involved in the jingle, no fault of his own. He pulled behind the wall and was forced to retire from this event. So heartbreaking situations for some. Dave Zapienza, what a great run for him. Tommy Catalano, there's no question about it. He'll be in the winner's circle this season as well.
Jerry Cook, has been great having you here tonight. We wait to hear from our other top finishers in the presentation of the 1948 Cup to our race winner, Ronnie Silk. But what a night tonight.
It was very good. This goes to show, at least to me, what the rest of the year is going to look like, because there isn't just one or two that are running off into the sunset. It was like there was a number of them that had a good chance to win this thing.
34 of them, to be exact, Jerry. If you think about it, that's how close and competitive this series is. And you know what? I just want to say this. It's a credit to people like you that the Whelen Modified Tour has become what it is today, because a lot of people put all those pieces of the puzzles together and have made a difference, and you are our leader in that process.
Well, I started it, but I had a lot of good people with me. A lot of the race teams, they were just like my best friends. I mean, without them, you can't do it, you know. And we did a lot of things, and we did a lot of things together to make it successful, too. So,
you know, a lot of the people that have been watching us on television this evening didn't know the amount of work that was put together by Jimmy Wilson and the staff of the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour. There was a big party that took place yesterday. There was a meeting with the owners and a whole lot more.
Oh, yes. And then, of course, we had to battle Mother Nature along with it.
We did.
Make that work. And any of us that have been around it a while know what that's all about, too. So you try to do the best you can to make it successful.
And what a great day for Ronnie Silk, standing in the winner's circle. And Justin Bonsignore, as we said before, they came back. They saw Ryan Stone made the right moves. Matt Hirschman, same can be said. Anthony Cecily, very great run for him. And, of course, Doug Goby never was out of the top 5. Jake Johnson, Joe, he was able to overcome diversity and still be able to pull it off, and he's considered one of the young guys.
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, up until the last 20, 30 laps, he had a terrible night. I mean, he got involved in a caution. He spun. He was a lap down. He had to start from the back of the pack before all that, and he was able to navigate his way up through and showed a lot of strength. Jake Johnson's fun to watch. It doesn't matter where we go. We'll see a lot of him this year in that 3 car, but he is really fun to watch.
You know, interestingly enough, as we look down at the finish, there are 2 stories as well. But right now, it looks like we're going back down to Victory Lane.
Well, down in Victory Lane on track right now, Ben Kennedy, the Senior Vice President of Racing Development and Strategy for NASCAR, is presenting the 1948 Cup to Ronnie Silk. 1948 Cup, commemorative of NASCAR's beginning on the Daytona Beach road course. And that was the trophy that they gave Red Byron, who won the race in a 1939 Ford Coupe, the very first points-paying NASCAR race, February 15th, 1948. That trophy resembled exactly that. Back then they called it the Bundle for Britain, was the name of the trophy. Today, the 1948 Cup. And boy, it'd be great if that became a tradition for this new Smyrna Speedway event.
It certainly would be, and we want to also thank them and the support as well.
Great to have Ben Kennedy here from NASCAR making the presentation as part of the Victory Lane celebration here tonight. Ronnie Silk getting the win tonight. We'll be able to cherish that. They set that trophy up earlier today back in the paddock area, and it was like a swarm of bees. Everybody came around to be able to see that trophy, take pictures with it, and see a bit of history.
It sure
and
is.
it was quite the spectacle. Everybody wanted a piece of it, but there's only one driver and one team that has it tonight, and that's Ronnie Silk.
That's right. And he gets to take it home and put it on the mantle itself. And there he is, proudly holding that incredible award and incredible honor here at the new Smyrna Speedway on behalf of the Hart family, as he's very, very proud, and his entire crew and Ben Kennedy also there as well has just made the presentation.
Well, Ben, it's been an outstanding night. Jerry Cook, Great to have a Hall of Famer on our broadcast tonight.
Had a good time. First time I've ever done anything like this. So.
We'll have to have you back next time around. Thank you for everything you've done for NASCAR modified racing. And again, it was great to have you on the call with us here tonight.
Yeah, it was a good night. I mean, Sapienza, he was right in there all night for the old guy, the old guys bunch. But Ronnie Silk pulled it off, and I remember a long time ago now, Ronnie Silk went to the racetrack up in Ohio and didn't have anybody with him. And I was up there, had my grandson with me, and I told him to help him out, do anything you can for him, So things change through the years.
They sure do.
It does, but they often stay the same. Ben, that wraps up the Whelen Modified Tour event here at New Smyrna Speedway. A great one and a great indication of what the rest of the season will look like for 23.
It certainly is, and everybody will be tuned in and looking forward to 2023 as it began here tonight with another historic event from New Smyrna Speedway on the NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour.
So Ronnie Silk, with 2 trophies in hand, starts the season off in victory lane. On behalf of the entire crew at Flow Racing, the Racing America team, Ben Dodge, Jerry Cook, I'm Joe Koss. Thanks for joining us here tonight from New Smyrna Speedway.